There we go. Caroline, you are the first box. What do you got?
Well, I'm ready to write a love letter to Jonathan because I think this DocAssembly thing is just going to, I mean, I'm at the point where I don't know it cold, obviously, and Michelle's helped me with a lot of stuff. But you know, once it gets going, and then I've tried some things, you know, and it works. It's just amazing. I mean, I have a lot of just tedious stuff to do, but I try things like I told Jeannie something wasn't going to work, and it was working in Word. I couldn't get it to work in DocAssembly, and then I got it to work this morning. So I'm super psyched. You know, it's just like, well, maybe I'll just try this just for the heck of it, see if it works, and it does. And so that's it's really great. And I've got enough of these interviews that I'm hoping I'll come up with a kind of a system. Unfortunately, you know, Matt's got that TIG for converting A to J author interviews to DocAssembly, but I think I'll probably be done by the time they're underway with it. But it's be interesting to see what they're probably not. So of course they're doing forms, and what I'm doing with these guided assistants is a little bit different. You know, but it is interesting. It's kind of like you know, we were talking before about displaying the PDF form as an image and everything at the end when you preview it. But that's kind of what I'm doing with these accordion documents, is having the whole plan of action on one screen at the end. So it's been really interesting, and I'm really enjoying it.
We should send Jonathan a link to the video.
Yeah.
Love letter.
Love letter to Jonathan.
Right.
Quentin.
All right. Nothing too much for the assembly line. I'm been working today on, we're trying to benchmark our Rate My PDF score, which you all helped build. So we're just trying to get some additional feedback from outside experts to validate it. So I'm just building out some surveys for them to respond to. Help us figure out if we're doing the right thing. And that's pretty much what I've been working on. I'm doing a little bit of improvements to Rate My PDF as well. Caught a couple of bugs that I fixed. And
Are you using GPT chat formally in any of the Rate My PDF or the form fixer?
Yes, but not the chat, the underlying GPT model.
Oh.
They are slightly different things.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm being a pedant.
No, I mean,
we're
I
using
think
GPT-3, and I think
Oh.
GPT is based on version 3.5, they call it, right? And then there's like a slightly even newer version than that that's underlying the Bing.
Yeah, and more than that, there's additional, they put guardrails on it by having additional probability changes based upon things. So like it won't give certain answer to do, like it's not quite the same as just the straight GPT 3.5 even.
so. It's the AI behind it, really. Then yes.
It's the engine underneath the thing. I guess they all share sort of a similar engine, but they're slightly different chassis with maybe with a fuel injector or carburetor or so. I don't, the metaphor's gotten away from me.
Well.
So anything else, Quentin?
No, I don't think so. I'm having my students use the Weaver the first time next week. So hopefully, I guess I should give it a run through and make sure there's no bugs that we've introduced that we haven't caught.
Do you put something in the issues because if you install the Weaver on your server, it's supposed to use your custom organization package, or is that just an outstanding thing?
If that is installed on your server, it should.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not right now, so I probably need some help with that.
Yeah, last time we had talked about this, Caroline, you had tried using the dev server. Were you not able to get to work there either?
Right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we can look at that.
Okay. Oh, there's one more thing. Quentin, you asked me for some DocX forms, and I think I've got 2. Did I send anything? Did I send one to you?
No, not yet. I should make an
Okay.
issue so I can track it. Yeah, I
Okay,
think I
yeah.
was thinking like how useful it would be to add fields automatically to docx files. That's probably why I was asking for it.
Yeah, I can't remember what the context was, but I found one and I thought, oh, I didn't think I had this. So I have to remember to send it to you. Okay.
Definitely will use those.
All right. Michelle.
Michelle, so I've done some, office hour stuff. Got some ideas for enhancements for Kiln, but all of everything is on hold now while I figure out this date validation thing that's been eating my brain for
Oh, the date thing?
Has it been 3 weeks or something? I thought this was going to be, I thought it was going to be a week-long project. I didn't think it'd be small, but it's been like 3 weeks in this thing. That's fine. Bryce and I have figured out one thing that is going to simplify things a little bit. One like constraint, which is that we're just going to highlight the field as a whole and put an exclamation mark next to that instead of highlighting individual
Individual
fields
bits.
when it's appropriate, and just remove the highlighting from individual fields. It's still a bunch of work, but it's much less work than trying to highlight exactly the right
Figure
field
out.
at the right
It's like,
time.
oh, well, you're wrong here in this one little part, and let me tell you, yeah.
Or you're wrong in these 2 parts, but you're only seeing an error message for one or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yes. A generic
Um,
catch-all. That's a good solution.
Yeah, so we'll see. I could add the exclamation mark just to the right of all the fields and not outline the whole field. You know what? That'll be a style decision for later. Because I could highlight like all the fields as red and also do a little exclamation point to the right. I don't know. As opposed to outlining the, all right, whatever.
I would go with,
Whatever's simplest.
that's right.
Yep. But it turns out that like, I might as well have custom messages for everything because I have to do custom validations for everything anyway. So the messages can just come along for the ride.
Mhm.
So, but only one message will be shown at a time.
That
And they
makes
will have
sense.
no prioritization.
Yeah, that makes sense. You fix
Makes
one
sense.
and then the other one comes up. I think that's expected.
Yeah, if you
But even if you don't
you didn't
fix
do it right,
if-
you still didn't
if
do
you
it right.
if you did 2, right? If you got
Right.
2 wrong, then still only one message is going to show up,
Yeah,
even if there are 2
right.
different
But then when you-
errors.
Something's wrong about the date.
Right, so you fix it and then something else is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Something
I
is
think
still
that's the
wrong
way
with
a
the
lot
date.
of
Yeah.
forms online are now.
I mean, some of them list all the things that are wrong, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
If
it.
you
So-
can with certain things, but it's definitely, yeah. It's nice
It's
that we
not
do
like
as
an
much as we
ideal,
can,
but also like it's hard to write like 10 validation messages for each
yeah.
field on an interview. That seems like
The
unrealistic.
actual validation messages, honestly, it doesn't matter because the validations have to happen. So the messages come along. It doesn't matter that much. But I mean, I don't know how we're going to translate them. So that's a different problem. Bryce can talk about the complexity there, but Word is not going to work, is what Jonathan says.
I thought he said that it
Um,
runs on every string. Am I wrong?
what?
I thought I was following around on Slack, and I thought he said it did run on the string, but I guess there was the problem like that formatting the string isn't good enough to account for different grammars or yeah.
No, it's the fact that if we can't change the JavaScript, really. Like the JavaScript itself can't be run through Word at that point because it's too early in the stage or too early from whenever DocAssembly loads it. It was, I don't really know exactly. We'll see.
Okay. Fair enough.
But it's not, but using Word in the custom data type module, from what I understand, at least the way we're using it isn't going to be effective. So, which is why it'll be good to let developers do their own messages, because then they can use Word.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they use their own, it should work, but we can't like auto translate our stuff, which is just silly. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who else is
Where's
using
that love letter now?
it. No, it's a great thing to be able to customize it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like compared to hot dogs or something where you're just stuck with the things they invented in 1980.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
sounds like frustration, but direction.
Yes, it's not always been the case, but today, right now, we're in a good place.
All right. That's on that note.
Yes, Bryce.
Bryce.
I have no direction ever.
No direction.
I just didn't get a ton done this week. I did help Matt with some stuff and like released some fixes we had been talking about for the appearance, just to help out with a few clerks who keep rejecting things for reasons that don't really need to be rejected, but we're
Reasons. Yes.
yeah, working through that. I did also, and just a lot of like documentation and upkeep and stuff. I was like doing, another Jonathan Braze, he did merge the radio button fixes that I added into DocAssembly yesterday. I don't think they're released yet, but I am using like the latest branch of DocAssembly to try and get radio buttons like in the Weaver and like working well through there. So you should be able to upload a thing from the Weaver. I don't think, if I remember correctly, Gavel did not, or whatever it's document. I'm forgetting what it was called already.
Now Gavel.
Now Gavel was document. Their tool didn't let you add radio buttons, right? Like radio buttons were only
I don't
ever in
believe so.
other PDFs or through Adobe.
I think that's right. Does that
Okay.
sound right?
Okay, as long as like I'm checking the radio buttons I make with Adobe, but like as long as making sure that there wasn't any other major ways we would use to add radio buttons to test with. Yeah, so I'm doing that, and I'm also like while like doing mostly that, but like I do a little bit of this other thing and let it run for a bit. I'm trying to get small DocAssembly. I'm trying to make DocAssembly very small, such that it could run in a GitHub action, and we could actually run tests on like a very small spun up DocAssembly thing, because it is frustrating me to no end that kiln tests will just fail, and it's almost always like just timeout reasons, and it's not Kiln's fault, it's DocAssembly's fault, because it should be faster, and the only thing I can see around it is just we spin up our own, and it will take 20 minutes, but it will just work or it won't work, and it won't matter what else is happening. And that is a thing for me. And I'm still hacking on it a bit and seeing like what I can make there. And I don't think we'll make it like you always have to do it that way. But if people want to, they can do it that way. So
what do you mean? What's going to take 20 minutes? Because right now you don't mean that each test is going to take 20 minutes.
No. So the process right now is you already have a DocAssembly server running. Like we have apps test, and then when GitHub starts, it like downloads all the stuff it needs to run Kiln, and then it uses Kiln to talk to that DocAssembly server. But the issue there is that DocAssembly server, it's also being tested with like a different repository that's like running its test, or just other people using that test repository, or like updating anything. And so it will just randomly fail. And so instead of using a different DocAssembly server in the GitHub action, we should be able to like essentially just download and start, like the same way that you start a DocAssemble server on AWS, like Docker pull and then Docker start or Docker run or whatever. You just do that entirely in the GitHub repository. Right now, it takes actually 25 minutes just to download and start DocAssemble when you do that. And so I'm trying to make it a lot smaller and a lot faster to start, because there's a lot of things that you don't really need for testing. You don't need OCR for every single language in the world. You kind of just only need it for maybe English, not really. And so I've manually taken a whole bunch of things out of the DocAssemble Docker container, so it's a lot smaller, so it's quicker to download. And then I've also tried to speed up. I was talking with Jonathan, and there's apparently some reason I was when starting the DocAssemble container, there are some things that it does that it takes just 2 minutes of sitting there and changing one little tiny thing about every single file. And he was like, yeah, I had to do that because I didn't want to maintain a separate Docker file for just a single server thing and using DocAssemble with multiple different servers. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but also I don't want to wait 3 minutes for no reason. So I've at least gotten sort of a minimal confirmation that that's not a thing that we have to deal with. And so I'm trying to do all that and I'm making it run really quickly and work on my machine well. And then fingers crossed, we'll see that if it works in the GitHub action. It should be small enough now to run. I've checked what GitHub's limits are for actions. But we'll see. And that's a background thing that I'm just sort of when I have 2 minutes, I run it and then I wait for everything to build or whatever. So
Wow.
that would be incredible, because I was doing testing with Michelle last week, and some of it was my errors, but some of it was, like you said, I mean, Michelle's like, oh, it just timed out, just run it again. I'm thinking, if you're new to this, how do you know? And also, and I was.
So you read the
Abigail-
documentation,
Abigail,
but
Michelle was saying, just she's all about doing these little pieces at a time. But then you're there for 4 hours waiting for each test because, so I'm just running tests and running tests and running tests and then coming back the next day to see what went wrong. Of course, they all failed.
Yeah. And this is definitely
so this is something
other
that
things. Yeah, I was going to say.
we want to develop other tools for a situation like that, where
which is also in progress. There's a PR we need to review at some point, but
well, a PR that will get us closer. It won't get us there, but it'll get. I want to have people be able to run it on the DocAssemble server.
Yeah,
that they're on.
Yeah.
And just run one test at a time if they want. I mean, they can just run one test at a time if they want, but it's not clear right now how to do that.
And even one test takes 2 or 3 minutes at least, or 5 minutes or 7 minutes.
Not right now. No, you keep running all of them. That's the thing. They all run every time.
No, I tried just one test at a time too.
Really?
Yeah. Takes
And
a
it
long
still
time.
took that long?
GitHub takes a while. GitHub takes at least 2 minutes to
Oh,
download npm usually.
really?
And all of the dependencies. Yeah, Puppeteer contains all of Chrome, so it downloads all of Chrome every time.
Wow.
Which we just can't really avoid. And that's what so there's other things we're doing to make it a lot easier to actually use and write. But this sort of stuff is more for once you have it written, the biggest thing is just making sure it consistently runs. Because if it's either not consistently running, something's going to break and you just won't know because you weren't running it. Or the worst side, if it's consistently running, but it sometimes fails for, like you said, it's failing and you don't know why, and it just timed out, you just needed it to run it again. If you've already written the tests and you're way on past that, if it fails, you're just going to be oh, it was probably a timeout, and not really look into it anymore. And it turns out one of the last 10 failures was not a timeout and was a real thing. It's just really hard to note the noise when there's too many intermittent failures.
Do you think we should not fail on timeout and just say these tests weren't tested?
We'd have to change some other things, because I do think normal failures, validation failures, or we couldn't progress past a screen, sometimes timeout. But
well, I mean, we could say just it wasn't tested.
Yeah,
Like
I
this
guess.
test wasn't completed.
I don't know if GitHub Actions has like a good way. They have like it's passed or failure, but
No,
they
we
don't
can
have a
control the
middle.
timeout in ours. I think that's up to the Cucumber. I think that's Cucumber.
I'm saying when you report back, like when you look at, oh, did all of the tests for this last commit pass? There's only like the check and the X. I don't think there's like a question mark. We don't know if it really was okay.
Well, Cucumber has stuff like undefined or skipped. So we might be able
GitHub
to do
doesn't though.
something.
Cucumber might, but
Cucumber.
GitHub doesn't, and so that's like the
Yeah,
main
that's
way that
fair.
people are going to scan through and see if things succeeded or not.
That's true.
Otherwise, you have to click through 3 times and then scroll to the bottom of all, or like the middle of all of the output to find what Cucumber said. So
yeah, okay, fair enough.
it's a thing that we could do. It would help. It might help the DocAssembly side things of like the intermittent, like I want to run this particular thing. We can just, if it still times out even on your local server that you're running it on, it might be like it might be useful to show, oh, it timed out and not just failure. But I feel like that's a bit further ahead.
Yeah. All
All right. Well, sounds like a fun.
Either way, yeah, that's all the stuff I'm doing. I don't think there's anything else.
Oh, I have one more thing. The other day, like I couldn't get my custom data type to change, even though the only file I had on there was my file. I don't know if it was a DocAssembly thing or if someone else had been like trying out my custom data type package on the test server, but just putting it out there, don't try out my package on the test server or I can't like develop anything. That's all. Just don't do it. Make it copy with your own names. Do whatever. Like, but not that. Yeah. Okay. So you don't even know what it is.
Wasn't me either. So yeah, it doesn't sound like that's something likely that would have happened, but
there was something that oh my God.
Would it be from another test running? Potentially any chance?
No, because I'm not running any tests on that. I'm specifically making sure nothing else is loading it on the server. So that's nuts.
If it was an intermittent thing and it's already fixed itself, it could just be a weird DocAssembly reset thing, or like however it could be just a weird race condition when DocAssembly scans, because you're doing things on test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be my business if no one even knows what your repo is.
Yeah. It's linked in the issue just in case, the bus factor and everything. All right.
Yeah, I've been trying to scrape some more states. Had fun side thing where the little citation thing I've built, and now fielding requests from people at different institutions to have access. So that's kind of fun. Yeah. But yeah, not really assembly line. So, all right, well then I'll stop.